please.
Thank you, Sonu. I think now I introduce Dr. Vardhaman Kankeria. He is a prolific surgeon who will be talking about the sizing problems in FECI and the expert panel for this particular presentation, none other than our President, Professor Maipal Sachdev and Purandar Basi. Now I request my friend Amit Porwal to introduce Dr. Vardhaman Kankeria.
Thank you, KP. And it's my pleasure to introduce my friend Dr. Vardhaman Kankeria, a young, dynamic phaco-refractive surgeon. He is a double gold medalist and an internationally reputed and India's first dual fellowship trained laser vision correction surgeon, trained from America and Europe. He has done his fellowship under Professor Palikaris, the father of LASIK himself. He has got numerous publications. His academic presentations have been known nationally and internationally also. He has been awarded, his name has been entered in the Limca Book of World Record for performing highest number of cataract surgeries, of refractive surgeries. He has been awarded many awards nationally and internationally. This is just a part of his CV. I can say just 5% of his total CV. So there are n number of things we can talk about to introduce Dr. Vardhaman. But just in short, nice human being, a great refractive surgeon. He's running a great fellowship, refractive fellowship program, and he's the director of Asian Eye Hospital in Pune, and a son of a refractive surgeon himself, Dr. Kakri. Over to you, Vardhaman.
Thank you so much. Just a second. Yes, thank you so much, Amit Bhai, for such a kind introduction. And I would like to first thank Dr. Partha sir for the kind invitation. Just a second. Yeah, for the kind invitation and to talk about the phakic lenses in this very, very august gathering. I'm just going to start my presentation now. So friends, as we have actually heard from all the speakers as well as all the seniors here, that phakic lenses definitely are very important part of our armamentarium today. And for sure, all refractive surgeons should get on to learning phakic lenses in their refractive surgery to complete their portfolio of surgeries as well. So before I come to the sizing of the phakic lenses, it is very crucial that actually performing the phakic intraocular lenses, whether it is ICL or IPCL, is probably not very difficult for a very good trained cataract surgeon. But the most important thing, or the holy grail of phakic lenses that we talk about, is sizing of the lens, and especially that we have to hit the sweet spot in terms of the vault. So for the benefit of our very young beginners here, I would like to tell what exactly is the vault. Vault is basically the distance that you have from the phakic lens to the crystalline lens. So basically from the anterior apex of the crystalline lens to the posterior surface of the phakic lens is the vault. And ideally the vault that you should target should be close to 500 microns. The ideal range ranges from 250 to 750 microns. And probably the acceptable vault is with the current generation of ICLs is from 200 to 1000 microns. These are some examples of a good vault. As you can see the upper photographs, and the vault on the left side you can see is almost, the lens is almost touching the ICL is almost touching the crystalline lens, which is an extremely low vault, and such lenses have to be definitely exchanged because they will be having higher propensity of developing anterior subcapsular cataract. And the third picture that you see is a very high vault. As you can see, there are two PIs in place, although in spite of that, there is this there is a bit of shallowing of the crowding of the angle structures as well. If you want to really see the ideal vault, the ideal instrument is of course the ASOCT, where you can actually calculate it. However, if you don't have access to that, you can actually calculate it depending on the thickness of your cornea. So it has to be at least half corneal thickness to 1.5 times corneal thickness. So sizing of ICL, as I've said, is basically the holy grail of ICL surgeries. And there are a variety of studies which have shown that because of either insufficient or excessive vault, about 1 to 1.5% ICLs have to be exchanged for the correct lens sizes. So how do we actually size the ICL? So as we have already learned from some of the previous speakers, the ideal way of actually sizing the ICL is sulcus to sulcus, because that is exactly where the ICLs are going to sit. However, the only instrument which can currently do it very well is the UBM. And the UBM unfortunately has quite a significant variability in its measurements, and it is completely operator dependent. So unfortunately, although the ideal solution, we are not really relying on sulcus to sulcus by UBM anymore. So there are two surrogate markers that we use, either the white to white measurement, which is from the mid limbus, which can be calculated by a variety of instruments. But this is probably the most commonly used because it's simple, inexpensive, and easy to measure. It is available every part of the world. And the second one, which is now upcoming, is called as the angle to angle measurement, which can be done with OCT, as has been already discussed by Dr. Titiyal sir. This is a very important article by Parker et al. And they have actually seen if you actually use the white to white versus sulcus to sulcus as the surrogate marker for your measurement of the intraocular ICL sizes, then the white to white seems to be doing fairly well when it comes to sulcus when you look at the vault itself. This is basically a diagram which will actually show you the forest plot, which shows that if you are having the white to white, which are the first bunch of articles, as you can see, about 20 articles odd, and the last 3 articles are from sulcus to sulcus. So whether you use the white to white or sulcus to sulcus, largely you're going to be in the sweet spot between 250 microns to 750 microns of vault. However, of course, for all the reasons that we have discussed, currently the most commonly sizing parameter that we use is the white to white. There are a variety of instruments that you can use for white to white measurements. The one that it is a good idea to use multiple instruments so that you have a kind of confirmation about it. But the most important being the digital caliper. So I think there should be one instrument that you rely on again and again because you have certain experience with that. But always understand that the digital caliper and the IOL master will always have a small definitive difference. The studies have shown that the IOL master actually overestimates the white to white compared to the digital caliber by about 0.4 millimeters. So that you have to always keep in mind. So there are a couple of small, very, very simple cases I'm discussing again for the benefit of some beginning surgeons. This is a 25-year-old male patient who came for refractive surgery. As you can see, this patient had a myopic astigmatism. The corneal thickness was quite subpar. It was 460 odd microns. However, the patient had a good anterior chamber depth of 2.91 millimeters and 3.03 millimeters. This is called as the internal anterior chamber depth from the endothelium as seen by the serous. So when we looked at the white to white measurements, I think there was a fair amount of let us say agreement between the digital caliper and the HVID on the serous, and the IOL master of course overestimated, but I think this was fairly what was in sync. And that is when we went for a 13.2 millimeter of phakic lens size for this particular patient. We implanted the lens, and what we saw on the first day, that patient actually had a very high vault. It was about 1,100 microns. And it is very important that I would like to again re-emphasize the first day vault actually may change because the first day vault depends on a lot of factors, but you have to consistently actually understand how is the vault over time. And then when we looked at the vault at 7th day, it was still very high. At the end of 1 month, it was still over 900 microns. So this patient, as we discussed, had a very good anterior chamber depth of about 3.43 or 3.5 millimeters internally. So we actually decided to just observe this right eye instead of exchanging the lens per se, because we still had a very good angle. However, for the left eye, then we decided to undersize the lens by 1 size smaller, and then we went for a 12.6 millimeter for the left eye. These are the parameters that we used. And as you can see in the left eye, actually we hit the sweet spot. We were at 650 microns, and the patient has been doing very well. I think we have close to 1 year follow-up of this patient, and the patient is doing extremely well. The right eye has been under observation. The anterior chamber depth is still quite good. We do basically sequential gonioscopy intraocular pressures for this patient. Everything has been absolutely within the range, and the left eye has been doing absolutely wonderfully well. The patient is doing well in terms of its vision as well. Coming to the second patient, it's a 21-year-old young patient, had actually a fairly high myopic astigmatism. In this scenario, of course, because the corneal thickness was borderline, it was about 480 microns odd. So we decided to go for the ICL procedure with a good amount of anterior chamber depth of 2.93 millimeters and 2.87 millimeters in this case. Again, the digital caliper and the HVID on the serous actually showed a fair amount of agreement, and the IL master did show, let us say, the standard overestimation what was expected. So we were overall very confident that everything will be very good for this particular patient. And then we went ahead and performed the phakic lens with 13.2 millimeters. And to my surprise, actually, the vault was extremely low on the first day. The vault was only 145 microns. So when we looked at sequentially, of course, the vault didn't increase at all. So the vault was consistently about 116, 125 microns. And of course, as the studies have shown, it is very crucial that we have to have, so if in very, very low vaults, either you can observe it, especially with the current generation of ICLs, when you have the Centra flow technology, the chances of cataracts are very, very less. But I think 116 micron vault is just too low for my own acceptance. So we decided actually to exchange the right eye lens with one size higher lens. But what we did in the left eye was that we had not yet done the left eye procedure, because I don't perform bilateral simultaneous ICL procedures. I always do one eye, and then after a couple of days, I do the other eye. So this gave me a chance to again actually reorder the lens for the left eye. So we went for one size higher in this case, and the left eye, we actually found the sweet spot about 488 microns of vault, which was seen to be excellent. So in the right eye, actually, this patient had to undergo exchange of the lens. So just to show you one example how the lens has to be explanted, as you can see from the side port, you can go with the viscoelastic under the lens, very gently pull only one haptic, and these ICLs are extremely pliable. So with even 2.8 or 3.2 millimeter, you will be able to explant them in one go with a two-handed technique. And then the other ICL was implanted inside. And again, in this right eye, we could actually found an excellent vault of 546 microns. So this patient has been also doing pretty well. The vision has been, of course, quite good. And the desired vault was actually achieved in both the eyes with the sequence. One more thing I would like to actually tell about the ICL sizing and especially the vault is that don't rely on the postoperative day vault. So as you can see in this photograph in the upper one, actually in this patient, we had used pilocarpine at the time of ICLs. So when you use the pilocarpine, the pupil actually pushes the ICL on the back towards the posterior side. So the vault on the day one was actually 160 microns only. So towards the 7th day, actually when the pilocarpine effect, of course, was gone, the ICL was actually at 700 microns of vault. So it's very crucial for you to actually know that whether you've used pilocarpine intraoperatively or not, and then judge your vault. So the take-home message actually is that despite following the recommended the guidelines from the manufacturer, it is very crucial that you have to understand that in some amount of patients, you're going to have either the low or the higher vault. So you should have your own strategies to go about it. What I personally do is I don't do bilateral surgeries at the same time. So when I do the first eye, and when we look at the vault on the first postoperative day, it always gives me the advantage if in case I have to plan the other eye by either under or oversizing it. Of course, for people who have access to the intraoperative OCT, intraoperative itself, you can have a look at the vault, and then probably a bilateral simultaneous ICL procedure does a lot of sense. Okay, thank you very much. I think this was my last slide. And again, thank you to Dr. Partha sir and the entire AIOS scientific committee for the kind invitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Vardhaman, for a fantastic presentation. Now I think we have with us two great panel. One is none other than our president, Professor Mahipal Sachdev, and also Dr. Purinder Bhasin. So over to Dr. Mahipal, sir.
Well, thank you very much, KP. Vardhaman, excellent presentation. I think what needs to be highlighted and which you have highlighted is that the sizing of the ICL is of critical importance. So there are two things. One, in a toric, the placement of the ICL, and otherwise, whether it's a spherical or a toric, we need to have the sizing of the ICL. Now, I normally do not rely on the Pentacam, as you have rightly said, that not rely on the IOL master, because that does not give you an accurate estimation. So what we are doing as a thumb of, as the rule of thumb is that we are doing the digital kind of estimation, and that has stood the test of time. So I have not found any reason to change that. yes, if you want a more physiological reading of the sulcus, you would do a UBM. But the point is that the manufacturer has actually designed the ICL to match with the digital reading. So the readings of the UBM could be different. So I don't think they still have an adequate nomogram or a formula that if you have this in the UBM, what are you going to do? And obviously, as the interpretation could be slightly different as to the angle and where you are taking it out. So I think majority of us are using the digital caliper, which is very, very important. Now, the second thing is that a high vault can settle over time, but a low vault never increases over time. So a low vault needs to be looked at more aggressively, while you can be a little more passive in a high vault. The only one thing which I might have done different from yours in waiting is that I often do a laser iridotomy in these cases. And that also tends to have the vault coming down. But over time, with more fluid going in and also with the central flow, you can have a slight decrease on the high vault which is there. So what you have to see is that the pressure should not go high in a high vault, and that needs to be graded, and that needs to be calibrated and looked at from that perspective, that the pressure is not going high. But otherwise, you have to, as you rightly said, in about 1.5%, 1 to 2%, you might have to change the ICL, and there are no reasons that you can get as to why that patient had a high vault or a low vault, because the internal configuration need not match the external measurements that is there. But despite these fallacies, I think we still are doing the digital caliper, and the presentation was good, and you highlighted the whole thing. And just the point that I wanted to add was about a peripheral iridotomy that could have been done, and that also helps over time to reduce the vault. The other important that you need to see is that if you leave a low vault for a long time, the cataract tends to get there. And there are a lot of people, I think Dr. Bharti is here, so we can have a little bit of controversy because he's somebody who does bilateral simultaneous cataracts, especially the premium IOLs as also the ICLs. But I think precisely for the same reason which Dr. Ram has also pointed out, that you can actually grade the response of a patient, whether it is in an ICL or a premium lens, and see as to what the patient is doing or how the patient is kind of behaving to that, and then work. So whenever there is something where I get a problem of a vault being difficult, I would postpone the patient for some time or decide or change the lens, because the lens may not be available immediately. Otherwise, that is a good learning that you get from the other eye.
Absolutely.
So if there is a malsizing that is happening in one eye, it is likely that it can happen in the other eye. So you need to work your way around and do that, despite the company having you that this is going to do this. And sometimes the company actually throws up a warning. If you go to their the site and put a lens, it says this is not as per the size. But then and that can cause you actually, I have faced one of these problems in a consumer case. That there was a problem in the sizing, so we went on to a different size, and there was a warning which I had never actually looked at, and it says that this is not the appropriate size. So the patient kind of held that and said that this is not the appropriate size, but then you are overruling the nomogram which the company is giving as regards the size of the and the company washed away its hands in the court, saying that this was not as per the nomogram, and it is the surgeon's decision, so we don't come anywhere in the picture. So just
Maipal sir, one question, sir. Patient with a very high vault, I have tried after 15 days or 20 days. In case of a spherical ICL, I rotated the lens. If it is in the horizontal, I rotated the lens the opposite direction. What is your take-home message on that, sir?
can not in the opposite direction, but 90 degrees away.
90 degrees, sir. 90 degrees. Sorry, 90 degrees.
Yeah. So you can do that. I think that can basically, the spacing is different. See, it's not 360 degrees. It's the same all across. So basically, in a spherical, it does not really matter as to where it's placed. But in a toric, you can't do that. But the first thing I'll do is maybe wait for some time, do a peripheral iridotomy. If it is critically high, then I could do a peripheral iridotomy. And if it is not settling over the time, I have really never tried, but it stands to logic that you can rotate a lens and possibly, but then I don't know, you might have to find out or figure out by a UVM as to where the internal dimensions are higher as compared to what is causing a high vault. So otherwise you just rotate it, and I don't know where to keep it. 90 degree may not be the biggest kind of size internally.
Dr. Purendra Bhasin, a few comments.
Yeah, very nice presentation, Dr. Vardhaman. And it's so beautifully highlighted. Both the cases were so important. And what I feel is that here, there are two things which has to be looked upon. One is the anterior chamber depth, and more so in toric IOLs, because you are always having a confusion whether we should go on a higher side, whether we should go on a lower size of the lens. If you go on a lower size of the lens, then there is a chance of low vault. And if you go on a higher side, then there is chance of high vault. And in toric IOL, you always prefer a larger size of lens. So when the anterior chamber depth is low or borderline, then it is very, very tricky to be on a higher side. So this is, this is what I feel. And secondly, when there is a transition period, like in your second case, it was 13.2 in one eye and 12.6 you opted in the other eye. So when there is a change, transition of the lens size, when the size of the white to white is in transition phase, when we have to select from 12.1 to 12.6 size and 12.6 size to 13.2 size. So in those cases, yeah, and when you are doing a toric IOL, so you have to send, what I do is I send back to check it again, whether this is adequate. That I comment that the depth of the anterior chamber is 3.4 in this particular case. Are you sure that we should go for 13.2 size or in this toric IOL? Or if you, so they check it again and reconfirm, then only I place the IOL. This is what I do personally. When the lens size or the white to white is in the borderline range, and when the anterior chamber depth is shallow. In those cases, it is very, very tricky when we do the toric ICLs. I think very nicely, very beautifully depicted, and Dr. Mahipal has also rightly appreciated these things. In a high vault, it's more forgiving as compared to the low vault, very low vaults. So low vaults are less forgiving, and it is wiser to explant it on time if it is around 100 micron vault.
So also with the lens rise concept, sir, because if it is a very low vault with the lens rise, if it's a very, very young,
lens rise,
then the vault will go on decreasing as time goes
further. True, absolutely. Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Nice message that Vardhaman has brought about bilateral simultaneous surgery. So I think for the beginners, they should all do one eye, assess the vault, and then maybe plan the second eye.
Absolutely.
Sonu very rightly said, and in post-keratoconus eyes, I usually prefer doing one eye, and I order one eye at one time. Because you never know, these lenses, sometimes they have to be imported. And then they have to be asked to come and they take time. So I tell patient that we'll wait for some time and we will go one by one and see the results, because the anterior chamber depth is not reliable in post-keratoconus eyes. Central anterior chamber depth is not reliable. So recently I did one eye. I have done. I have seen the good vault is obtained in one eye. So now I have ordered for the other eye, and next week we are going to do that eye. So this is how I do personally. So all these things, finer things, I think we have highlighted in this whole webinar. I really appreciate Dr. Somshila and Dr. Partha for bringing all these experts over here. Thank you.